Let's get started making our patriotic wreath. The flowers that you will be needing for this wreath are going to be blue hydrangeas, red poppies, and big white peonies. For our bow, let's talk about the greenery first. The greenery that we will be using today are ficus leaves, round bead grass, or some people call it round leaf grass. I call it bead grass. We've got a couple of funky looking ferns that we may or may not use, and some astilbe. And last but not least, let's talk about our ribbons that we're going to use to make the bow. I always use an easy bow maker to make my bows. I do not make them by hand. Our focal ribbon is this really pretty white and blue stripe with a rick-rack pattern going through it. I'm pairing it with a really pretty gingham, a red and blue solid, and a black and white stripe, just for something fun. Let's get started. Hey everyone, let's get started with our patriotic bow. So we are going to need some wired ribbon, an 8-inch zip tie, a pipe cleaner, and of course, an easy bow maker. I love using this tool. You can find it on Amazon. I have it linked in the tutorial for you. We have some wired ribbon. This is 2.5-inch wired ribbon. It is a really pretty rick-rack pattern with the navy, with the blue and the red and the white. Next is a 2.5-inch wired solid red. I believe they call this denim or canvas ribbon. We have a pretty 1.5-inch solid blue canvas ribbon. Just for some visual interest, we have black and white stripe. I always like to put a black and white ribbon in my bows. And then we've got a red and white gingham with some black and white detail on the sides. Really very pretty. This is 1.5-inch ribbon. So let's start by making our funky bow. I love to make a funky bow. It's not one of the bows that has a lot of tails hanging down, which makes a pretty smaller wreath. First, we'll start with the 2.5-inch canvas ribbon. I'm going to measure out. I've already got my knife edge on the end of it right here. I'm going to measure out an 8-inch tail. Press it down firmly. I like to call this my even and odd funky bow because I put one loop on one side and 2 loops on the other. This is a 6-inch loop on this side. I'm just using my easy bow maker to measure out how long that is. Twisting very hard and turning your ribbon completely upside down will give you a great loop. Measuring out to the 6-inch mark on this side. You can see it's right here. Just going to measure that out nicely and pushing down. Giving it a hard twist again. Another 6 inches. Pushing down hard. Now you can see why I call it my even and odd. I have 1 loop on this side and 2 loops on that side. Let's cut a tail. It's going to be 8 inches long, just like the other one. I am using the first tail as a guideline to how long the second tail should be. It does not have to be perfect. Let's push this tail up, just so it can be placed in the right spot when we want to keep going. And I'm going to actually pull these bow loops apart as well. We're just getting everything in place for when we pull it up out of the easy bow maker. It's just easier. Let's move on to our second 2.5 inch ribbon. This is such a pretty ribbon. It's very, very thick. I got this from Carolina Pottery, but it is a really great ribbon. I'll make sure to see if I can find a link to it in the tutorial, so you guys don't have to look really hard for it. So this time we're moving to the right hand side to start our loops, to start our tails, I mean. We're going to measure out 8 inches just like before, pushing it down firmly in the Easy Bow Maker. I've kind of raised up a little bit because this is such a thick ribbon, giving it a really hard twist so that the back side of the ribbon is now facing the top. Measuring out 6 inches. You can use the first loop as a guide. Push down really firmly, give it a twist. Another 6-inch loop. Let's do one more on this side. Just measuring out another 6-inch loop, using the first ones as a guide. Let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Let's cut an 8-inch tail. Okay, let's maneuver these to where we want them. I'm going to pull this tail down and pull that tail up. Let's move these around. Really pretty. Love that ribbon. It's so graphic. Next, let's put on the black and white stripe. I just think black and white ribbon adds something a little special to your designs. This time we're going to come in a little bit. This is only going to be about a 7-inch tail. Pushing it down. And these will be 5-inch loops. So you can measure that on your Easy Bow Maker just by looking at the markings on the bow maker, or you can simply make it about 1 inch shorter than your last 6-inch loop. We're going to do odd and even again. So 1 loop on one side, 2 loops on the other. If you want to check to make sure your loops are the same size, just simply raise them up and see. It's just a really quick way of checking to see if they are about the same size. I like the gold trim on this ribbon as well. This black and white ribbon actually came from Sam's at Christmas. So this was a Christmas ribbon. Always check Sam's out for seasonal ribbons. Maneuvering these loops and these bows to be where I want them to be. Remember, we have 1 loop on one side, 2 loops on the other. Looking like that. Very pretty. Moving on to our 1.5-inch solid blue ribbon. Gonna do the same recipe as before with that black and white ribbon. About 7-inch tails. Moving to the opposite side, so you can see this side has the black and white ribbon streamers. So I'm gonna start on the opposite side for my next ribbon. Gonna go back and forth to layer that up. It's a 7-inch tail, and I'm making 5-inch loops. 1 loop on one side, 2 loops on the other. These are like party bows to me. They are really funny. Let's talk about something. Okay, this is really important. I'm hoping that you can see on the camera where the manufacturer glued this ribbon together. It was the end of 2 spools and they've glued it together. You can really see it on the back. That is okay. Usually I cut this off depending on where it is, but right now I can see that it's just going to be in the middle of my bow and no one is going to be able to see it. So I'm not worried about it. Let's cut our 7-inch tail right here. Moving those tails up and down, making sure that loop is where I want it. Snoop these around. That one more ribbon. I really like this ribbon. It is so pretty. It is a red and white gingham with the black and white edge. The only problem is this ribbon's very, very flimsy. The wire is just like hardly non-existent, but for the center of this bow, I'm gonna make it really small so it doesn't have a lot of work to do. Its only job is to make it look pretty. Let's do about a 6-inch tail, giving it a really hard twist, pushing it down. It's going to be a 4-inch loop. We're making it even smaller than the blue one. Let's do a 4-inch loop on this side. Give it a hard twist. Oh goodness, it's sticking together. There we go. One more loop. Pushing it down. Let's cut about a 5-inch tail. Take the time to maneuver these to where you want them. There we go. It is okay that this top ribbon is really flimsy because the other ribbons around it are going to hold it up, and the tightness of the zip tie is going to make it pop. So I'm okay with it, and I really like what it looks like. It's very cute, very Americana. Take your pipe cleaner and slide it up under all of those loops and tails on the right hand side, or the left hand side if you're a lefty. Take your zip tie and you're going to do the same thing. Just going to slide it up under the loops and catch that pipe cleaner. Pressing down really firmly, I'm going to pull the zip tie up. Tighten it about halfway down, just like that. You guys see? Okay, I'm gonna lift it straight up. I don't want to disturb my little ribbon sandwich that I've got going on. Move the zip tie carefully to the back. Double checking to make sure that my pipe cleaner is where I want it, even in the middle of the back. Okay, just like that. See it? Let me spread it out. Now I'm going to tighten up my zip tie as tight as I can get it without moving my bow loops. I don't want to move my bow sandwich all around. I don't want anything out of place. That is really pretty. I love it. Totally patriotic. Take a few seconds and just kind of maneuver your bows. Maneuver your loops and your tails to where you want them. there you go. All right, let's move to the next step where I add this fabulous bow to the wreath. Let's put a hanger on the back of our grapevine. This is a 14-inch grapevine wreath. You can find these at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, lots of different places. Here's how I do it. I make a little loop like this. I poke the loop through some of the grapevines, bring it up this way. Then I take the loose parts, twist them together, pull the loop through the twisted parts, and you have a hanger. Easy peasy. This is my wreath stand that I made from a very lightweight and inexpensive art easel. Let's hook it right here so we can hang our wreath. So let's talk about where are we going to put our bow. Here's the bow that we made. It's so pretty. Love it. We can choose to put it at the top right here. We can choose to put it at the bottom right there. I think I'm going to put it at the bottom today. Either place is fine, but yeah, I like that. This is a big bow on this wreath, but once we add all of our florals to it, it's going to look fantastic. Taking the pipe cleaners and just poking it through the grapevines. I don't want to wrap it all the way around it and cinch it really tight. That will make getting our florals onto the wreath a little tricky. Sometimes it is difficult to weave these pipe cleaners through. There we go. Let's make sure it is where we want it. There we go. It's okay to manhandle it a little bit and pull it around to make it do what you want it to do. I'm going to twist it into place on the back. I want it to be secure and not wobbly. I never cut my pipe cleaners on the back of my bow until I am completely finished, because what if you decide to change it and then it's just a big mess? So don't do that. Here is our very pretty bow. We've got some of the tails hanging down. I like that a lot. Next, let's start with our greenery. I think I'm going to need about 3 pieces of this ficus. You can get ficus at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or any of the online wreath shops that are around. I'm going to cut this into 4 different pieces. You can see I've already cut off one limb. Let's cut off another limb. I stack mine together in 3s just to make it a little bit faster. Let's cut off the top. And then this last piece. All right, there we go. I've got them all separated. Now, I do not use a glue gun. I use a glue skillet. It is simply a small electric skillet that I melt hot glue sticks in. I'm going to take the tip of my floral, my greenery, put it in the glue skillet, and start greening my wreath. I want to make my wreath go down like this, kind of like in a curve pattern. It's not going to be a true crescent because I'm not going from this part all the way down to create a C. It's going to be more like a curvy swag. So we've got one piece of greenery up here, and let's put one on the bottom. Lifting up those tails. You do not want to get glue on your ribbon, but if you do get glue on your ribbon, all you have to do is wait until it dries and then it peels right off. Let's put another piece of greenery up top. Greening your wreath just allows you to create the line of what you're doing, so you'll know where to put your flowers and your boundaries to your wreath. What I do up top, I do on the bottom. There we go. Gonna move around to the side. I want to get back behind my bow to support it, so it's not just kind of flopping around. Let's put a point right here. We want to make a little triangle shape, so I'm going to use one of these. Get a little bit of glue on it. Put it down. Just like that. Let's fill in this spot some more. Take your stem, lift up that bow, and slide it along with the grapevine so it's underneath the bow. Smooth that out just a little bit. Now I can see, do you see how it's kind of moving around, but there is a spot right here that needs some greenery. Let's add one of these pieces. We're just building out our shape. I still want a little bit more over here. There we go. Much better. And we need to fill in on this side as well. I love the vibrancy of this ficus. It is so springy. I'm coming back behind my bow again. It's really important. You want to get back behind your bow to give it some support. Let's use this last piece right in here. I'm lifting up a little bit on my ficus stem to give the wreath some dimension and to support the bow. One more piece. Let's put it right there. So see what we've done. We have made, well, it's more of a crescent than I thought it was going to be. We've made a crescent shape with our greenery. It's very dimensional. We don't want it to be flat. We want it to come to life. So the next thing that we will do is let's add our hydrangea. This is a hydrangea bush that I got from Hobby Lobby. I do not like the leaves. The leaves are not pretty at all. So I take the leaves off and set them aside. Sometimes I go back on my wreaths and I add them to the back. Cut your stem long. Let's get another one. We're going to need two of them, so we might as well cut it. Save those leaves. You can always use them to put a backer on your wreath if it's sharp or it's got a sharp edge. Taking my hydrangea, giving it a cut. You can see that I keep my stem really long because I want it to pop off of the base of the wreath. I'm going to cut these little nubbies off. Do you see the little nubs? They somehow get stuck on things. So let's just cut them off. We're going to place one hydrangea up top and one hydrangea on the bottom. I think. That's the great thing about wreath making. As you're making, if you decide, it's not exactly the direction I want to go, you can change it. It's not a big deal. So we have one hydrangea on the top. Pulling my bow out. And let's do another hydrangea on the bottom. We're going to kind of make a diagonal with them. Clearing a spot. I like to know where I'm going to put it before I dip my stem in the hot glue. Okay. Very pretty. Okay, let's try this. Let's add some more ficus to make our greenery base just a little bit bigger. And then we'll decide if we're going to use the peonies or if we're going to switch to something different like my favorite, white daisies. I want to elongate this curve. Taking my ficus, just a piece of the ficus, just like I cut before, and placing it at the top. That gives us a little bit more room to add our florals like I originally wanted to. And let's put another one at the bottom to elongate that. There we go. Big hole. Let's fill in that big hole. We're just adding more ficus. To build it up. There we go. Okay. Now, do I really want to use these or not? I'm thinking no. So let's set aside these peonies for a different project and use our really pretty daisies. These are pushers, so I'm going to push these to the top. Just like this. Very, very pretty. I also want to add these peonies. These peonies came from Michael's, and I think they would be really pretty. Let's add these first. Spread these apart. I love how leggy they are. They're going to add a lot of depth to, something fell down, to the wreath. I always cut my stems long. Those are really cool. They are very long. Gonna cut them again. So now I have two pieces off of one stem. Look at the little fuzzy seedling. Let's go back. Let's go through and add these all around. Let me push this back so you guys can see. There we go. Make sure you take the time to maneuver all of your little pieces. It just helps them come to life even more. Let's put this little guy. You see I'm moving all the way around the wreath. Gotta find a spot where it's gonna slide in. You do not want your florals falling out of your wreath on your customer's front door. There we go, got it. Add some to the top. Again, this is a really long one, so I'm just going to cut it to make 2 pieces. I love the dimension that these poppies add to the wreath. They are really, really cool. Always look for something that's just a little bit out of the ordinary. So the hydrangeas are pretty simple. You know, everybody's got hydrangea wreaths. But when you add a pop of this red, especially with all the legginess that it has to it, it just makes it even more fantastic. Cut it into 2 pieces again. Let's put this one on the top. Coming all the way around the bow. We have 1 piece left. And I'm just gonna have to go right here to make our circle. Let's find a path. I can't quite. There we go, got it. All right, so here's what we have so far. Blue hydrangeas, red poppies, but it needs some more goodness. Okay, I actually forgot to add our second grass, so let's do that now. This is called, oh, we have one more. We're gonna save it for later, okay? It's always okay to save one for the very end in case you need to fill something in. This is bead grass, or I believe Hobby Lobby calls it round leaf bush, maybe. It's readily available. I believe it is like $10 a bush, maybe less than that. check your local store. I'm going to do this a little trick. I don't need all of this in one spot. So I am going to pull down half of them and then push up half of them to create two separate pieces. This really helps your greenery to go far. Take a pair of needle nose pliers, and the part that you cut off the top, or the part that you cut, give it a little twist so that your grass blades don't fall off. So let's take the time to do that. Pull down half. I love grasses or greeneries that are pushers. That means that you can push them up and down. You can make them as long as you want or as bushy as you would like, just like this. This stuff kind of reminds me of seagrass. It's got a great texture and a great color. It's going to add a lot more visual interest to the wreath. Now, usually I add all of my greenery at the beginning, but I got sidetracked and I forgot. So that's okay. We can just go back and add it now. Everything can be fixed. I promise. And if you ever get to a point where you're just frustrated, walk away, turn off the glue skillet, turn off the glue gun, leave your workshop and come back to it tomorrow. You'll be amazed at the different perspective that you have when you just give it a day. Had to do that often, especially when we're first starting out. So I just made double the amount of greenery by cutting this little grass bush in half. It is a fantastic little trick. All right, so now we have all of this. Let's start adding it to our wreath. Gonna begin at the top and just move my way around, just like I did with everything else. Lift up my leaves so I have a spot to put it. So much better. Different greenery really adds a lot of depth to your wreaths. I always use at least 2, if not 3. It fills in space visually and just makes it pretty. It makes it look more custom and more expensive. Got lots of glue strings. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Sometimes that just happens. So I'm filling in the top. That is so pretty. Let's do the bottom. I'm always worried that I'm going to run out. So it's important that you evenly space everything. There we go. Because you can always open up another pack of your greenery, but I don't want to do that. If you're a maker, you need to keep account of all of the greeneries that you're using, and that's how you determine all of the greeneries and the florals and the ribbons, and that's how you determine the price of your piece. And if you have to open up another bush of greenery, then it just adds to your cost. Let's do one more right down here. Lifting up to find a hole. Very nice. We're going to finish out on this side over here. gotta make sure you get it in the grapevine. There we go. Okay, I have 2 pieces left. I need to make sure I put them in the right spots. Let's tuck this in here. Back behind our bow. That is really pretty. That bead grass just really made it pop. I have 1 piece left and I'm gonna keep it just in case I need it again. Now, we chose not to add the peonies because they're basically almost the same size as the hydrangeas, and it's not going to provide enough visual interest. You want things that are differing shapes and differing sizes and different textures. I was really hoping to be able to use these, but I'm going to set them aside. Maybe I will make another Patriotic Wreath and add those to it. But for now, we're just going to leave it alone. Let's add these daisies. This is one of my most favorite bushes. It comes from Michael's. You can get them in lots of different colors. And adding a pop of white is just really gonna make it go. Let's start at the top. I see a spot right here that needs something, a little something something. Pretty, pretty. Now I'm going to make more of these by sliding off this bottom piece, setting it aside. I'll show you how I make more of those in just a minute. Let's cut this. I'm going to place this right here. Again, I'm always making sure that I'm not going to run out before everything is evenly on the wreath. So what I do up top, I try to do on the bottom. To make sure it's all evenly spaced out. I love white flowers. I think that's why I love this bush so much, because it has lots of little daisies and it has little extra filler pieces that really add to your design. And it was only $9.99. And surely I got it 50% off, right? Keeping my stem really long because I'm going to add it to this at the bottom. Trying to make a path for it before I stick it in. There we go. Some leaves are okay, and these leaves are just awful, so we're just throwing them away. Sometimes I keep leaves, sometimes I don't. Let's give this a little curve and place it right in here, back behind the hydrangea. It's really filling in very pretty. And don't forget, I have one more hydrangea. I'm sorry, I have one more peony, poppy. I have one more poppy left. And I'm holding on to in case I need to add it somewhere. I do want to use it because there's no sense in keeping one of something off of a bush. You might as well just go ahead and use it, so it's not just hanging out in your workshop, taking up space. Let's put one under here. Right up under that bow. Oh, it's turning out so pretty. Okay, let's see. Need some white over in this area. Let's take this little cheapy leaf off. It almost got in there. I almost let it slip in. You probably would not have seen it, but it would have added bulk to everything that's going on, and we don't need any more bulk up under here. Here we go. Let's step back and take a look. I see an area right here that's a little dark. Giving it a bend. Lift up that bow. It's important to get things up under your bow because you want your bow to stand up, but you don't want it to be like super crowded. Let's put a daisy right here. This is a good spot to use some of these little leftover stems that I took off, these little sprigs. So I take a piece of flower stem that I cut off. I slide on the little sprig, just like that. Let's add another one to it. And then when you take your needle nose pliers and you just give it a bend, nothing's gonna slide off. So we're gonna push this right in here, really carefully, not getting it on the bow. Super, super cute. Let's turn it sideways so I can see. Now, when I turn it sideways, I notice that I have neglected this spot right here. It is not very pretty and it needs some love. So let's give it a grass piece. It's going to help our bow pop up as well and fill in that area, and it needs a daisy too. Might as well use the whole bush, okay? Don't save it. Especially if you just have like one or two pieces, just to put it in your project, put it in your wreath. Where can we put this? We have one more sprig. We have 3 poppies, and they are glued together. There we go. So let's cut it into 2 pieces like we've done for the rest of them. And let's insert them somewhere. I think right here would be a good one for this one because it's got the pretty leaf on it. Give it a bend, make it come to life. Part the waters where you know it's going to go. Dip it in your glue skillet and push it. Push it down in there. I want to put a daisy in there too. Let's cut it kind of short. Put it right in this spot right here. All right, guys. Oh no, we got this one more piece. Let me stand back and look. Oh, I see where it needs to go. It needs to go right here. Perfect. Go back and give your bow a little bit of fluff. You see it? Let's use our little pieces that are left over, our little daisy pieces, all of these little sprigs that I cut apart. We are going to make a piece to go up under there. Let's get a long stem and thread the remaining sprigs of that daisy bush. These are all of the pieces that I pulled off because I knew that I would probably need something somewhere. And I think right here is exactly where we need it. I'm gonna take my needle nose pliers and give this wire a bend so it makes a little hook. That way my pieces don't fly off. And we're gonna put it right down here. And then I think we will be finished. Super cute, love it. So this wreath was made with a funky bow that I taught you how to do. 2 blue hydrangeas, red poppies, pretty little dainty daisies, lots of greenery, and it is so pretty. Look at the depth on it. Look at the wiggle. Love it. After you're finished, you're going to want to turn it over on the back. Take the flat side of your wire cutters and cut off all of these wires that are sticking out. As you're doing this, if you notice that some of your stems are not really secure, like they didn't have enough glue or they didn't have enough places to attach to, just give them a little dab of glue, okay? You don't want anything falling out on your door or a customer's door. So give them just a little dab of glue just to make sure that's not going to happen. I like to run my hand over it to make sure that I haven't missed anything. On the back, this is our zip tie. I'm sorry, not our zip tie. Smooth it up a little bit. This is our pipe cleaner from our bow. Just going to twist it and lay it down. Then take the ugly hydrangea leaves, use some glue, and cover it up. It'll make your wreath look very professional. Let's move it back just a tiny bit. So I take my leaf, turn it over on the back side, use my little glue paddle. It's really just like a chopstick or a skewer. Put some glue on the back of your leaf. It is hot, be careful. Press it down in place until you know that your glue is secure. Just like that. Let's do another one. I always like to do 2. Let's use this. It is really hot. The back of the leaf is hot. Last thing you're going to want to do is hit it with a warm hair dryer to get rid of some of those spider webs from the glue, and you are finished. I love it.